All right, welcome to the lab. This is episode 23, and we have a special guest with us. So we got Kel, Cody, and Dane Woodland with us today. How are you guys doing today?
Good.
What's up? I'm good.
Good. So you just got back from vacation. How's your week been, Cody?
My week has been,
Dane just got back from vacation. Cody.
Yeah, I was like, I will take a vacation at some point. But for now, pretty average. Pretty average week for August, I should say. Like, basically, the shit hits the fan at some point for something every week this whole month. But I have high hopes for September, so at least there's that, and it's right around the corner. But yeah, how about you guys?
I have no complaints. I'm living the dream right now. So, yeah. I just quit my corporate job, Dane. So, like, I'm on this freelancing gig now. So, I'm just stoked. How you had a good week? You've been traveling all week, right?
Yeah, it's been a great week. Summer has just flown by, and I'm feeling the vibes actually that you shared, Cody. Like, I'm just looking forward to September. In some ways, it's like that reset, and you kind of get back in routine. So I think it's been a good bridge from that like chaos of summer into fall, just to chill. So it's been good. I just had a competition last week, so just like taking some time to just like literally do nothing has been real cool.
Hell
so yeah,
that's awesome. So do we? That's a great little parlay into what we brought you on the show to talk about, right?
Right.
So you did a strongman competition. So you're a strongman.
That's right.
The strongest of all the men. How did your competition go? Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, it was really sweet. It was an invitational and just kind of like what I was just sharing about summer. It's like a wrap and just a fun opportunity for people to get together. The gym I did the competition at is a CrossFit affiliate, and they are just growing their strongman program. So this is an opportunity, I think, for them to like kind of demonstrate the sport in their community. So that was really cool. It was cool to see some new people show up. I'm new to the sport myself, but I've seen some familiar faces, and so it was cool to meet some new folks in the sport. It went well. I got a third place. It was my first ever medal, which I thought was pretty sick. Yeah, which I'm happy about in the under 200 pound category. So I don't know if I'll ever be heavy enough to be an open. I don't know if I want to be, but for my class, I was pretty happy with it, and just like getting used to the flow of competition and. It's just like I feel more confident and comfortable in that space now. So I had a really positive experience and just like really enjoyed it. Can't wait for the next one. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Well, how about this? How about you want to give us a little bit of about your background and kind of how you got to where you're at right now? Yeah,
you in my sport.
In general.
Yeah. I can tell you, I'll take you on a journey.
Take us on a journey. We love talking about fitness journeys here. So.
Yeah. So I've been an athlete like my whole life. So this is like just like another kind of step in the journey. Being a strength athlete, it makes sense when I look back on like all the sports I've done leading up to this experience. But it's funny. I've been strength training for like, as a hobbyist, my God, like probably like 12 years. And it's only just occurring to me now to like take that passion and infuse it into a sport, which is fascinating, but also so exciting. It's also new to me. But I come from a background of really explosive type efforts, like playing hockey, baseball, like a lot of the sports were just like, you go out, you like go hard, and then you chill for a little bit, which I think is a similar concept in strength sports and competitions. So that's like been all I've known. And so my last time actually competing in a sport, I was probably like 21, 22. I did track and field, and I did throwing. So again, like very explosive, a lot of really relatable themes. Like really, really enjoyed it. And that was also the last thing I did before I started my gender transition, which I just celebrated like 2 days ago. It's been like 8 years since I started T. So yeah. So like also a cool moment.
Happy birthday.
But it's like, I think that I knew this is like a long way of getting to where I'm talking about right now, but I knew when I was doing my sport in track that like I knew there's something going on. I suspected I was trans, and I was training for what's called Canada Games, and it's like pretty high level competition, happens like every 2 years, winter, summer. I'll train back and forth, kind of like the Olympics. And I knew then, and even as I was leading up to the training, but the preparation period had been like a year and a half prior. And I put it off until after because I was afraid of what would happen. Like, how would that affect my opportunity to be in sport? And I think that after I began my transition, I just really believed that like there wasn't a place for me in sport, especially with a lot of the things that you see in the media, a lot of the pushback. I really wondered how my gender transition would affect me. So I stayed away from competing, and I think I found my place in strength training, especially in the way that it helped me feel more masculine in my presentation, helped me feel strong. It was really affirming for me. And so, it was nice to have that thing to do, but there's definitely something about competing that I was really missing. And so I go to a private trainer twice a week, and there's this other trainer who works in his facility. He's my trainer now, but at the time he wasn't. And he did a strongman competition. And he just started like bringing equipment into the space, and you would just try out a few things. And I remember it was just in February, they got these like new farmer's carry handles, and they're really like compact, so you could load on a ton of weight and not be inhibited by bumping into you and stuff. So anyway, I was trying this out, and I was like, man, this is so sick. Like, I just want to do more. And this trainer Thomas, who I now train with regularly, he was just like, man, you should try it. So that was it. Like, we just kind of dove in. And so I've been doing it ever since. And my first competition was just in May. So I really just like went like all in on trying to prep and get into it. But getting there was kind of a random journey, but I'm glad I did.
That's awesome.
Hell yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So do you feel like all the movements that you did, so like you mentioned like hockey, baseball, and then throwing, those are all so like they blend so well. It's like such a nice flow into that kind of explosive sport. Have you found like a lot of carryover?
Yes, I have. And it's really funny. Some of the things that I was like not good at in throwing, I also find are barriers in strongman as well. It's like, my last competition, for example, we had to do a barbell clean and press, which is so bizarre. Normally we clean like a log, an axle, like, so it's usually like pretty gnarly on the form. It's like, as long as you get it from the ground overhead, they do not care. And, I've just really found that working on the barbell clean and press was really reminiscent of some of my throwing drills, like where if I just had more hip extension, like if I could just pop, that's what a powerhouse. It's like, if I could just get that, it's like, it would be so much stronger, And that was the same thing I struggled with in throwing, but at the same time, like a lot of the drills, a lot of the cues, a lot of the things that I thought about back then, I find very relatable to what I'm doing now. So it's like I know it's in my wheelhouse, but it's like I know what I need to tweak to make things better. So it's been
the same weaknesses.
It's amazing. Like,
or opportunities, I guess. Right?
Exactly. Framing. Yeah, it's like, it's funny, right? And so sometimes like things are so ingrained because you've practiced it so much. It's like, this feels so familiar. But yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So
yeah.
Let me know if I get this wrong. So I've only know a little bit about strongman from like watching it at the Arnold and stuff. But because I live in Columbus, Ohio, so like the Arnold is here every year. I've been going since I was like in high school. But
amazing.
So with strongman, it's like there's different implements and they're all like crazy essentially. Yeah. And then like so. But do you ahead of time know like what you're gonna have to do to get into the competition? Because I know they don't cover them all, right? It's all random. Yeah,
that's a really great question. It's like, so when you're kind of in off season, you're just training for like general strength that would be related to the movements somehow. But then basically what you do is you pick through, and usually when a competition is announced, they will announce like what the weights are, what the implements, like what the expectations are. Even what the rules are in terms of like equipment and stuff like that. Once you choose a competition, you do know. However, so far in the competitions I've done, there has been like this element of surprise where they've tried to level the playing field for everybody. So for example, my first competition, we had a natural stone to shoulder. So it was just like a huge stone. It was 185 pounds. They found it like on the beach. And they
just some random rock,
just a random rock. And they're like, took it and put it on the scale. And that's like part of the fun, right? So they like have this rock and they just like, they hit it away. So like no one used it until day of. So then part of the competition is then how well can you strategize and adapt to this like completely new implement. All of its weight might be distributed in one end. Like you don't know its shape and stuff. And so you practice as best you can, like with a sandbag or something, but you don't have the opportunity until you see it. So there's always like a little mystery, which is kind of cool too. Yeah.
That's interesting how
So,
they do that. They just throw stuff at you like, all right, here's a mystery box.
yeah.
Let's see if you can do it.
Yeah. It's fun. That's like
really
we also,
cool.
yeah, our last competition, we did this thing called a Saxon bar deadlift. And I'd never heard of a Saxon bar until this. So the Saxon bar is like this, like, it's like a block for the bar. And so you actually can't close your hands around it. So again, none of us had an opportunity to practice it. And so we all just like had this like pinch grip deadlift challenge. People were maxing out like 170. I didn't get anywhere near that. But like most folks, like that's a low number on a deadlift. But for your pinch, like it's really heavy. So again, it's just like, they're like, surprise, here's this weird thing, like lift it. Do something with it.
It's kind of fun though.
Yeah.
That's like a challenge.
Like absolutely. And it's like testing actual true strength, not
like
technique.
It's like actual functional strength, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Not like CrossFit functional strength.
Yeah.
Like
Barbells.
Like, what can you lift?
Yeah. It's so fun.
Not balanced.
Yeah.
Not.
Yeah. That's actually. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say what you said about not balanced. I find is so true of the sport. Like it really breaks all like common ideas, I think, around strength training and like what's safe and how to do it. Like there's definitely like no neutral spine. You know, you're hunched over this big like giant rock trying to like lift it over a barrier. Or, like some of the ways that the movements are performed, it's like it looks so bizarre, and you're like, oh my god, they're gonna like snap in half. But that's just like how it is.
That's so interesting. So for training and stuff, do you train, you know, like specifically like strongman movements, or do you add in kind of like bodybuilding, powerlifting style stuff to like build strength and then basically have good form with that, so when you have kind of not so great form, like you don't break your back in strongman kind of thing?
Yeah, that's basically it. Like you're kind of training a lot of things. It's funny, a lot of my movements, you know, I trained prior to this probably more like a bodybuilding style approach to my training, and there is a lot of similarity in it. It's almost like power building actually. So like the first few movements, like really heavy effort, and then some of my rep ranges are like 25-30 reps, and so it's like designed to be resilient in the face of fatigue. But yeah, you do train those movements. Like, I'll give you an example, like a bent over row. I'm going to do it in a way that's like really exaggerated. You're yanking it off the ground because it's transferable to like yanking a sandbag or a keg or like anything. You're just yanking it off the floor. So they take those like traditional movements and then do them in the way that a strongman would do them. So you're getting like that muscle memory with the movement. And another thing that I find, you know, with it is the training volume is really diminished. So I only train 4 times a week. And when I first started training, I asked my trainer, I was like, can you please give me a longer split? Like, I don't know what to do with like 3 days off. You know, I was like, what am I going to get up to? But he told me, and he was right for sure. He was like, you're not going to want more than this, because it's like every day is like you're all in. It's your whole body. You're really just trying to move a lot of weight, so you need that rest. And I've actually found, like, my experience so far in strongman, which is only like 6 or 7 months now, is that I've actually felt really good. Like, I've had like achy knees, achy shoulders sometimes from certain things, and the way that my training has progressed has been, I think, really intelligent. Especially, you know, shout out to Thomas, like taking good care of me, my trainer. I think that's allowed me to stay really, really safe so far and everything, because you build strength over time in these weird positions, which allows you to be stronger in them overall. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Do you have a favorite movement or implement?
Yeah. I'm definitely a big deadlift fan. I find that I do well in it. It's just always been a movement that I've like really felt strong in. And we did an axle deadlift with tires. And I actually really enjoyed that in the competition. It was like 18 inches was the height, and so it's like it's almost like an RDL or a stiff leg. Like you could just get your glutes. Like you can't get down deep enough basically because it's up so high. I really like that because the range of motion is so short, and it's like in my strong range. So I'm a really big fan of that. Plus, I think it just looks cool. Like the tires are on the side of your thing. You're like, yeah. So I'm a really big fan of that. I think as well in the sport right now, I really enjoy the conditioning drills. Conditioning is definitely something that I think is like seems to be something that people are challenged by. Like people like to do the lift, like the more static stuff, but then to taking the time to like do your sprint training or do your whatever. Like people don't love tacking on cardio, you know. But I teach group fitness, so I get my cardio a couple times a week, and so I find that I do well in the conditioning, and so I really enjoy it. Like our last competition, you had to run, pick up a sandbag, carry it back, throw it over something, and I was really quick, and I was really proud of my effort in that, and those consistently seem to be really positive for me. So I really like sandbag sprints and deadlifts.
Nice. Those are very different moves too, so that's awesome.
Yeah. And like, do they adjust the height for the deadlifts according to your height, or if you're shorter, do you just be like, sweet, have an advantage, go for it?
100%. Yeah,
awesome.
That's how it is. Yeah. And then similarly, like some of these other events, like stone over bar or anything where you have to put it over bar, like if the height's 52 inches, like it's 52 inches. So if you're like over 6 feet as a strongman, like 52 inches is much lower for you on your body, so you don't have to pick it up as far from the ground, versus if you're shorter, it's actually like you're at a disadvantage because you have to really work to get the implement up higher. So they just kind of like so that's kind of what's cool about it, is that each competition has different events. So usually, like, unless you're like, I don't want to say like a freak, but like most folks are like strong in some and then mediocre or not great at other events. So it's like an opportunity to really shine at the stuff that you're really good at. And then be strategic about the stuff, like, you know, if you do have a height disadvantage or something like that in one of your events, then you just try to do your best at the other stuff to make up for it, because it's all recorded on a point system.
That's kind of cool. Awesome. So it's like, okay, I might suck in this area, but I'll make up for it over here.
100%.
That's dope.
Yeah.
That's really fun.
Cool.
Oh, cool. Have you found the community aspect of strongman? Like, because you work out with a trainer, but do you work out in like a strongman gym? Like, have you found the community aspect of it nice, or like, is it welcoming, or how is that?
I definitely think so. I have to say, like, I really enjoy my private training, but sometimes I feel like I wish I was involved in my local community more. It's the commute to this place. It's so funny. I live in such a small city, but the commute to this place is like 12 minutes. I don't want to do it. Like it's which is
been there.
It's not that bad, but it's just where I live. Like that's a long commute. I will say that, you know, as someone who is relatively like an outsider, because I'm not there for regular training sessions week to week and I only show up during competitions, there's just a lot of connectivity. I think, like, especially in the last couple of years, a lot of folks have learned to connect in different ways besides in person. So, you know, there's a lot of following on socials. You meet them at competitions, and then they're like looking out for you in your training videos and stuff. But I have found that every time I've been, so I've competed twice, I volunteered another time. So I've been to 3 competitions. Everyone has been so welcoming, and there's been a really positive spirit in terms of competition, because I think people are there because they like lifting heavy shit. So even if someone else is going to like knock you down a place, but because they complete this lift, you want to watch them do it because it's like badass, you know. It's like they're just cheering for you. They love it. People want to grow the sport here. It's really kind of gaining a lot of momentum, and so I think that people's impressions are really positive. You know, when they're in the sport. So it's been really good. I think it's like a really body inclusive space as well, which is really good. I think that can be a barrier sometimes. You know, intimidation or feeling like you don't belong or feeling like you look really different can be a barrier in some sports. And you know, in this sport, your weight is actually like quite an advantage. So you're seeing like folks who might not feel like they could excel or feel like they belong in certain athletic spaces, like being in the space and being really celebrated and having an edge in the space. So
and kicking ass.
So I think that's like a really cool thing about it. It's just been, it's been nothing but fun, and people have been really eager to help. I traveled to visit my sister in New York City, and I went to this gym, and it was a strongman gym. It worked out really well. It happened to be close to where I was staying, and this guy was just like the gym owner, who was so excited to meet me. He like gave me a lot of tips, like just because he wanted
That's
to.
awesome.
He yelled at me a lot, which was really scary, but like very motivating. It was crazy, but it changed my life for real.
Awesome.
But it was really positive. So it was just like, I was able to go somewhere else in the world and say like, yo, I do this sport. And this guy was just like really happy to chat it up and just connect over the sport. So I thought that was really cool.
That's awesome.
It is really cool.
I feel like it's
so like.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Cody.
I was gonna say I feel like it's one of like those things that's been around for a while that hasn't really like gained a lot of traction, but I feel like it's probably going to. Like I sense that it is becoming more popular, and I don't know if it has anything to do with like CrossFit getting less popular. Like maybe that's what's kind of like moving in. Like you said, it started in a CrossFit gym essentially. So maybe that's what I'm feeling might occur.
Yeah. I don't know. I think though, like also the fact that it is so inclusive of so many people, because I've listened to a few podcasts with like what is it, Nadia Storms. I think she's like one of the world's strongest women, and Rob Kearney, right? I think is world's strongest gay, right? And so I've listened to them talk about it a little bit, and it reminds me of rugby, because it's like there's a spot for everybody, every shape of body size, and it's just like whatever, you'll find a spot here, like just try it. And like and that's it always reminds me, it's like that same, like it feels like the same type of people, like big goofy bears kind of, and, who are just really fucking strong, and like to drink a lot. I don't know, that's the vibe I get from them.
100. That's really funny you say that. Rugby's huge here, and that's the that's the culture.
Right, it's kind of what it seems like. I don't know. But I mean, that's so fun, and it's like, because and I know it's not the same thing, but like we have the Irish Fest here, and it's like the Highland Games is really fun to watch. Yeah. And I know they do like the big toss over the stick. I do not know any of the terms. I apologize. But they do similar things, but in like skirts. So it's really cool. It's really fun to watch. I don't know. I nerd out over that kind of stuff. I just think it's so fun to watch, and I've always been interested on how accepting they were, because I know like there's such like famous LGBT people in the sport, so it's just very interesting to me.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up Rob Kearney, because I just watched, I think it was whatever it was that happened in like March or April. Maybe it was Arnold. Is that? I don't know.
That's when Arnold
I can't remember. Yeah, okay, maybe that's what it was. Whatever it was streamed. It was streaming the Strongman competition. And seeing Rob Kearney come out, and they're like, the world's strongest, and like everyone's like cheering. I actually cried, because I was like, this is so cool. Like they're cheering for him, and he had like a rainbow mohawk, and it was just so nice. Like he was there. He was there because he was like talented enough and strong enough to be there, and he also happens to be gay, and it's just like what an inspiration. It's like it makes you feel like that can be you to see to other folks who are part of our community. So it's just really cool, and that he's being like welcomed and celebrated in that sport. You think about strength training being like hyper masculine, and sometimes those vibes can be very intimidating, but it's like it comes back to my point about people just want to see you lift heavy shit. Like they just like do not care, and so that's like a really, really positive thing I think about that sport. So yeah.
Absolutely, that's dope.
Yeah.
That's one thing I wish bodybuilding was more like, like cool about.
Like, I mean,
cool.
It's getting there, but I feel like
getting there, kind of, but not nearly as far.
Yeah.
One day, maybe.
Yeah.
It's tough. I mean, It's like
it's.
Yeah.
What were you gonna say?
No, I was gonna say it's tough. I think the foundations of what the sport is about, and like it is so aesthetically focused, and there's a decision about what that aesthetic is meant to look like. I think like for me, and I will say like part of the reason that I discontinued it is because it is so close to like your image of your body, and I just found it like so triggering that I couldn't keep it up. I couldn't keep like that lens on my body. But I think that being able to separate like having an appearance for a sport, like for a specific purpose, like for the display of like your muscularity and like getting your physique into condition that just like hits the bullet points that the judges are looking for, and separating that from like your worth, your value, your appearance and stuff, it can be very, very difficult. But I do view it as a sport, but it is definitely like, it can be tough to be accessible to some people for sure. Like, you know, for some folks, it'll never be. But I think in some ways, like, yeah, it's kind of like talking about rugby, and there's other sports or other places for folks. I think that where they can use like their skills or their kind of natural abilities, I guess I'll say. Yeah.
Yeah. And like Cody and I have talked about it before, because it's like, it's so funny how strength sports, like, because there's so many different kinds of strength sports you can get into, but how we got a kitten. That's okay. Cody's dog is probably on his lap.
Yeah, they've been making all sorts of squeaky noise. I'm just like, oh no.
Yeah.
But strength sports in general can be such a wonderful place for like trans athletes, especially. Is like, Cody and I find solace in the bodybuilding community and like the act of building the body that we want, right? And like, you find like it sounds like great body euphoria, like lifting strong shit, and like, and it's just so funny because like powerlifters do the same. It's like they just want to lift something super heavy, and it can be so like empowering to people who've never necessarily had that control over their bodies. So
yeah, I think it's cool, like, to have an option to separate like just focusing on aesthetics, and you can focus on just like strength. So you don't like, you know, like you said, it was very triggering for you and it was hard to like separate that. And like, I totally understand that. So it's something I often tell people if they're struggling. It's like, don't focus about, you know, the aesthetic goals. Let's take a look at your strength numbers and see how those progressing. Try to like focus on those, but it's cool, you know, that's an option as a sport to focus on that. So you don't have to focus so much on just aesthetics if that's something that, you know, you struggle with.
Yeah, absolutely.
To still get to compete in something.
Yeah.
So that's dope. Yeah. Because I know I missed competition like that. Like, I know you mentioned you're like wanting to be able to compete in a sport as opposed to just like play it for fun and whatever, and how that was like a big decision, and it was a hard decision. I mean, I think we all went through that. Like, you can either do what you want to do and compete, or take the risk. And and it's cool to have our cake and eat it too.
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. I really respect, like, I've got a couple of really close buddies who do bodybuild, and they're in the routine with it, and it just works for them. And I just like respect and admire it so much, you know. I think it's really cool. And I will say, for me, having been in spaces where bodybuilding was so common, it equipped me with the ability to help shape my body in a way that was really affirming for me. So like, when I reflect on my transition, like having that skill set, I think was so valuable to me. It's been really fascinating. Like, the strongman thing has changed my physique in ways that I was not expecting, that have also been really positive as well. Like, even kind of by accident, like my workouts now, I basically do like horizontal push, vertical push, like a deadlift day and then the squat day. And all of like the stuff, all the carries, all the pressing, it's been amazing for me, like with my shoulders and my upper body. In some ways, like, I think also giving me like a new training stimulus, because it's like, I've been doing chest day, like all the angles, like drop sets, like whatever I can come up with to try and bust plateaus and, you know, develop, and just like doing something totally different. I've actually seen such a transformation in the last like few months too, just of like a new type of stimulus. So that's been really, really positive for me as well. It's like, I kind of said like, okay, I'm going to stop focusing on my aesthetic. And then I started doing really heavy shit. And I was like, oh, I kind of like this. Like, I like the way I look. So it's kind of helped me in that way as well.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
So it gave you both anyways.
Yeah, it's been really positive. It definitely has. Yeah. So it's funny, like there's an event, there's a style of clean called a Continental Clean or a belt clean. And that's where like you would lift like an axle or another implement and you bounce it like off your belly before you go to your shoulders. So instead of bouncing your hips, you bounce on your belly. And so most folks, like, you have like enough of a belly built up that when you bounce the bar on your belly, it's like cushiony, it's soft. And one thing that they've like been, so my peers have like ragged on me a bit, because my belly is not big yet. I'm gonna work on it, but so like I have like a small bit that got pinched between the bar and the belt, and I was like, "Ow! Like that really hurt. I'm not doing that again." Like just like I don't want to do it, because I like pinch my skin on my stomach, and they're like, "Oh, you need a belly," So it's been really funny.
What a fun bit of homework,
right? Yeah, it's like everywhere else like abs are like the symbol of strength, and they're like, your stomach is not big enough for this sport. Like you gotta start eating, man. Like,
drink more beer,
Yeah, it's really funny. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
So does nutrition play a very big role in it? Like, what is your like prep going into a competition look like?
Yeah, I think it does play a role. Obviously, it plays a role. It plays a big role, is what I meant to say. Yeah. I think that with all the demand that you're putting on your body, and especially like during your off season, trying to get stronger, and then leading up to competition, you got to be getting in your calories. And it's very common. Like I remember going to the first weigh-in for my competition. I overheard some of the other athletes saying that they had eaten like takeout like twice a day every day for the last couple of weeks because they wanted to like get as heavy as they could for the weigh-in. And I was like, I don't know. Like that's one way to get a lot of calories in. I personally feel like I would feel like shit and not do well. I would have a bad belly, so that's not my vibe. But it is really important. I think that the dirty bulk is definitely like a thing, and especially like some of these like guys who are on TV and stuff. You've watched their little vlogs of like what they eat in a day. I remember we were watching one a little while ago. My partner actually said, the Austin Powers movie, Fat Bastard. She was like, he just looked like Fat Bastard. Like he's just there like eating, and like all the food's like he's like sitting in shirtless. It's like falling in his chest hair. It's like a burger, It's like he's having like his like third burger of the day. Like it's just like that was the image. I was like, I don't know if I want to do this, man. I'm like, that's what works. If you're trying to keep your weight up at like 280, like whatever it takes, But it was really, we laughed a lot. But it was like, I do try to get a lot of calories, but I definitely try to do it with foods that like I'm used to eating. Just like I try to eat more of them. So I'm right now like I'm drinking a lot of Gatorade when I'm training and also when I'm recovering, just for like a quick like carb source. I eat a lot of pasta. Eat a lot of potatoes, a lot of rice, like just doubling up on that kind of stuff so I can stay fuller. Big time. Yeah. Like Carb City. It's unreal. And so I find like, it is important. And I think you could definitely dial it in. And one of the things I've learned, especially from years of doing bodybuilding as well, is like, when you think about your training and how much you're investing into it, it's not just the time and like going to the gym, it's the time in food prep and tracking, like in learning, researching, like reflecting on your workout, it actually can encapsulate a lot of your time. And so for me, I find that I generally just like repeat a lot of the same foods in the daytime, and then have like just like not like a free meal, but like with my partner and I, we have supper. It's easy for us just to like eat the same thing, and I just eat like a large portion. So I kind of like eyeball or guesstimate my tracking, and I measure it by checking my weight. So if my weight goes down, then I will probably track a little bit more. Okay, I'm like, I need to eat more. But as long as my weight is like going up, I'm just kind of like eyeballing it every day. And so that's been really comfortable for me in terms of like a level of investment I'm willing to give to my food prep and my tracking. But it's just been big portions. And Cody, you mentioned beers. Like there's definitely some beers. I have a part-time job at a craft brewery. Like I'm on the beers too. Yeah. So it's just
perfect marry.
It's right. It's the perfect place to be. Yeah. So it's So it's just been
and
just
you
trying
get to practice your keg lifts.
I do. They're a lot lighter at the brewery, I gotta say. They're only which is like sand or whatever it is they put in. But yeah, it's important. But it's funny. It's definitely. I think there's a lot of misconceptions about it in that sport. It kind of reminds me actually of when I was a thrower as well. It's like those athletes were generally just trying to keep their weight up. Being heavy was like really beneficial. And And so it was just like just eating whatever you can eat. But yeah, for me, it's like trying to get those whole foods in as much as possible. Just like makes me feel my best. So yeah, that's kind of the vibe. And then, you know, on my creatine, I have my protein shakes. Sometimes I mix rice in my protein shake to get lots of calories. Like I put it in the blender. It's real creamy.
Oh,
yeah,
I
it's like
mean,
a homemade.
I was like
cream
just
of rice.
picturing like white specks like
Oh,
like
pulpy orange juice, like very
Yeah.
pulpy. Yeah, I know. You put it in the blender, but it's definitely important. I think it's more so important too. Like it really depends on your weight classes. Like my next competition, I'm kind of in the middle of the two weight classes, so I have to decide if I'm going to go up or down, and I'm gonna try to go up. But you know, if I had to cut like to lead up to get into a class and then try to eat after that, like there's a whole science to all that. So there's definitely a lot to, I think, to be learned and implemented in nutrition to support your performance in the sport, no doubt. So there's another kitty.
Oh, we got a new kitty.
So like I know with bodybuilding, you know, there's different categories, different like different ways that you enter those categories of, you know, like by your height, weight, stuff like that. How is that split up in Strongman exactly?
Yeah, it's usually just by your weight class, and then they also have age divisions as well. So there's like you know, masters is probably the one I've seen the most. I'm not sure what the age cutoff is for that, but it varies from competition to competition because there's a ton of different federations. And so like typically my last competition was like above or below 200. Sometimes it's in kilograms instead of pounds because we're in Canada. So sometimes it's like, 100 kg. So yeah, it varies slightly, but it tends to hover around like the same values. It just depends on the federation. And of course, if the competitions have like a lot of attendance or not, that also matters. So for example, that first competition I did, it was just a novice competition. And because there were so few novice competitors, we're all in the same weight class. So there was like a lot of like differentiation across the board. So typically you have your weight classes and then you also have your open, which I think it's kind of like bodybuilding. Like after they get everyone on stage for the open championship, right? Like the winner of physique, the winner of like classic. So similar. It's kind of similar to that. Like you can be in your weight class and you can be in open, but typically open is going to be the competitors that are like in the men's division, like over 300 pounds. Sorry, not over 300, close to 300 pounds, maybe over, but like at least 250. Something like that. So yeah, that's generally the bracket you're seeing. So, and you typically also have to qualify for the open ones, either by like an invitation or they might have like an online submission where you record yourself completing the lifts. So whereas some of the weight categories you can just enter, you get weighed in that day and, hope for the best. So.
Awesome.
So to go back to one thing that you did say, so like people want to get heavier for the class, like leading up to it, because I did Olympic weightlifting briefly, and like you want to stay like at the heaviest of the lowest class, like you know what I mean. So people want to hit into that next one, or they want to stay heavy.
In open, they do. If you're within the brackets, like then they're trying to squeak under. For sure.
Okay.
That was like
I was like, that doesn't make sense. Then you would be at the lightest.
Yeah. Yeah. That's kind of like my dilemma now. Like the next one that I have, like the weight cutoff below me is 175.5. I'm like 182. Like that would be very achievable to cut out like, what is it, like 7 pounds, whatever it is. It's not a lot. Yeah. And so I feel like I would be at the top of that category, but it's also like the lightest category. And I feel like with many sports as well, it kind of reminds me of like boxing or again with bodybuilding, like people want to see the bigger, stuff. I wanted to go up for that reason, but it's definitely, as you said, like that would be the strategy to try and get under, under. And then once you're weighed, like have at her and just eat and eat and eat. So the next morning, if you go over, it doesn't matter. Yeah.
That makes sense.
So,
well, plus it's more fun to like push yourself right into the next one and like grow and challenge yourself.
Yeah, I think it'll be cool. Yeah, definitely. And they give you different weight prescriptions based on your classes as well. So it's always like a decision on that too, if things look achievable or not. So yeah.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Very interesting. That's super cool. So what else do you do? Like you like strongman, you work,
Yeah.
you're a trainer. What's
Yeah.
your,
I
what
mean,
are your
yeah.
other hobbies and passions? What do you like to do?
Well, yeah. So I have like a zillion jobs. I need to streamline it. I appreciate what you said, Kel, about quitting your corporate job because I like had a big box gym job, and I left it like 2 years ago.
Uh-huh.
Still haven't figured out quite yet my next steps, but I've been enjoying the ride. So hopefully you're faster at it than me if that's meant to be your journey. But yeah, it's so yeah, I'm a group fitness instructor. I'm a trainer. I also work with Lululemon,
Oh,
consulting
nice.
with them on yeah, which I really enjoy. So I'm on their inclusion, diversity, equity, and action team. So I do consulting with them,
That's
which is
badass.
something that I've been doing. Yeah, so it's been a bit of my like a passion project that I've been doing for probably 6 years now. So at first it started out just like with like some community organizing, but I've over the years like developed a bit of a network with referrals and had some experience. So I have grown from doing what I would call like trans 101 to really being able to apply my unique lens to like sport and wellness mostly. So consulted with like some different sport organizations about like how they can be more inclusive, how they can create like safer spaces for athletes. Um, yeah, so I'm really fortunate to have a contract right now with Lululemon, and I'm really enjoying that work. It's like I work with them globally, so different projects
Wow,
related to
that's awesome.
inclusion, yeah, in a lot of their regions. So, that's like relatively new work for me. This contract with them, so I've been really digging into that lately, and it's cool. It's just like so cool to know that there's an appetite for it,
Yeah,
and to even know like I think that there's yeah like that people want to know how they can do better,
that's cool.
specifically in
That's
yeah
has to be so heartwarming these days, to be
I
honest.
yeah
know. Like that makes me
yeah
like them more.
yeah yeah
Because like
yeah no it's
everybody's
yeah
hating on everything now. Like, and I don't know
yeah
if it's different in Canada, but in the U.S., like every day is like another trans story about how we're shut out of this or shut out of that. So that
yeah
to hear that you get to see the good side of people actually trying to be better, that has to
yeah
be such a great for your mental your mental
yeah
health.
yeah it's definitely very positive. People are very eager to listen, and not only in that organization but a lot of the ones that I've worked with. um I see it as a lot of times like people not knowing, and they don't have the resources. And I even think about myself, and I often say this when I lead discussions about it. It's like just because I came out as trans myself didn't mean that I like suddenly knew all this stuff. It was because I took the effort to like learn and read and research that I grew my lens around inclusion. And so I look at my own journey like it was really difficult for me to learn about what it even meant to be trans. I was like, I'm like under my bed covers, like I'm Tumblr, like trying to like,
Oh,
there's not a lot of stuff
Tumblr.
out there, right? That's where I
Deep
found
cuts.
myself. Yeah. So it's like, there's not a lot of like stuff out there, and a lot of what is out there is often from like a very negative lens. So, I know it takes effort for people to learn about it because I went through that effort myself. So I I'm grateful to have experiences with people who just I feel like just don't know, and they want to know. And a lot of times I see people who are really really afraid of messing it up because they don't want to have like that social repercussion of saying something harmful. Because sometimes it is totally intentional, but sometimes there's also folks who just like truly do not know, and
Right.
they don't want to get it wrong, and they don't speak up because they don't want to make it worse. And so I'm just really happy to know that there are folks who are really invested in that. Um, and just the specific considerations are really cool. And you're seeing people like I'm hearing really positive stories of people working even within broken systems, like say in healthcare or like whatever field they're in, where they might know the limitations that they face, but also have the education and have figured out how they can like reduce harm as much as possible for the people that they work with, because they know, they care, and it's just like, okay, what can I do with what I have, to make it better. So it's been positive. It's been really positive work lately for sure. And again, like especially to have more mature conversations about it. Not that that one-on-one effort isn't important, but to know that people want to do more than just like study the trans person, but actually like figure out how to support them in their space or in their field, like is really really positive and reassuring. Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah.
That's super cool.
Yeah, it is cool. It's, it's, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead. Uh-oh.
We freeze.
We got a little bit, okay. Are we good?
There, we're back.
Okay. Sorry, what was your question?
How did you get into that?
How did I what?
Uh-oh. We got a little delay, maybe.
Hello?
Oh.
Hello?
So, can you repeat the question one more time?
Oh.
I was just saying, how did you get into that? Like doing that kind of thing? Did you like grassroots? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah. It started from my own. It's honestly from my own need, and then it grew into like community-based things. So when I first started kind of getting involved in advocacy, I was preparing for my own top surgery, and the way that the healthcare system was at the time for myself to be covered by my province, which is like getting like a state-funded support, they would only cover. They would only cover your mastectomy, but not like your masculinization of your chest. So basically, and the wait list for publicly funded surgery was like 8 years. It was like unbelievable. And I just like, my mental health was so not well. I was really like not in a good place. And I was like, I do not know if I will like survive to wait 8 years like this. Like I just could not imagine, really feeling like so uncomfortable, because it really did affect everything. And as I'm sure you're aware. So I got into it through that because it was just, it's just like such a like glaring issue. And there was some positive moves happening in legislation with trans healthcare and trans rights. So we had like a bit of momentum. So I started getting into it with that conversation. I actually crowdfunded a lot of my surgery because I did end up paying for it privately. And so by being visible in the community for the crowdfunding, I was doing a lot of discussion about it. That picked up interest in the local media. Everyone's wondering, why is this guy fundraising for this surgery when it, should be covered? So I got into it through that initially. And that just like really kind of started it. But what I think really made things take off is in 2016, I did a talk with our TEDx organization. So a TEDx talk.
Hell yeah.
About how male privilege made me a feminist is what it's called. And yeah, it was just kind of cool. So that went like pretty viral. They actually took it down and re-uploaded it with the comments disabled because it got all these hits and it got like so much transphobic shit. Like it was unbelievable. And we took it down because I was like, I don't want people reading these comments. Like this is ridiculous. So anyway, it like broke the internet. It was a good it was a good thing. Though. But you know what? It made
is pretty dope.
Yeah, like they needed to be made uncomfortable, I think. So so I got into it through that talk, and that really got me a lot of attention, which was really positive. And just basically the idea was that like, having been socialized as a woman, like I learned to accept certain things about like what my life was supposed to be like what I should and shouldn't do. What was ladylike, what wasn't, and like things like, sports, strength training. There are certain like jobs, etc., that I felt like I couldn't do because I was a woman. And I thought that feminism was actually like really silly until I noticed the gains that I got in male privilege when people started reading me as a male. Just like the way that people treated me in my job, like, trust my expertise, the way I felt safe, like even walking at night. Like as a young woman, like you got your like keys in between your fingers because you're like ready for someone, it's like your fault if something bad happens to you. Like, it's unbelievable. So this whole talk, really got me a lot of opportunities. So I just kept getting more and more experience, more and more invitations, first talking in schools, then like lectures at the university. And it's just really like, grown. So I've had a lot of opportunities from like networking and then, people referring me. So it's been really cool.
That's so cool. And now you can like, and you just use it to pay forward to the community. That's so dope. And I think that like, that's so important to do. And like, so thank you. You're doing amazing.
Yeah.
Like shit.
Thank you.
Shit.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I'm enjoying it. That's
and
for
you're
sure.
strong as fuck. And come on, man.
Yeah, I'm doing my best to keep a well-balanced lifestyle, you know, a little bit of advocacy, a little bit of strength training, all the things that I enjoy. So yeah, it's cool. It's cool to be in that work too, because I think sometimes I'm really like read as like a bit of like a beefy like muscle dummy. Maybe people wouldn't think that, you know, that I'd be interested in that sort of conversation. I'm literally wearing a shirt that says "Getting Pumped," like I'm a huge bro. But I also, yeah, you know, that's not all there is to me. So I'm happy to be doing that other stuff too. So yeah.
That's hilarious, because I have a friend who is referring someone who just came out as trans to like my Instagram, and like, oh, this guy might help you, or I can like introduce you to people in the community. And I apparently went to my page, and they're like, I can't hang out with a bro. And I'm like, oh my God, people think I'm a bro. And I was like, it like never dawned on me. I'm like, I'm just a weirdo. Like
right?
I'm just a weirdo who likes dogs.
Yeah. If only they knew.
I also like to lift weights.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's funny. Those are the things we're taught to read. Like, I think I look at people who probably look like myself. I'm like, man, what a douchebag. Like, you know,
I do the same thing.
So, yeah.
It's like
I
your
do
own
grunt
life
in the
lesson.
gym, you know, it's like, it's like I am that guy. Like,
So, like, they always say, you know, don't judge a book by its cover, and then it's like, but then you just find yourself like, doing that. You're like, God damn it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well, that's what I made this note to Cody one day. That sounded like a funny thing to say, but anyways, because I was really stoned,
like in class.
I was really stoned, and I told Cody, I messaged him, and I'm like, bodybuilders are just like cosplayers who like to pretend that they're gladiators or something. And
that's so good.
Sent him that, and I'm like, it's so true though, because like bodybuilders are like the nerdiest people. All they do is read about training, do training, and prepare to train. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah.
So funny. And that's how all strength sports athletes are, though. Like,
different versions of nerds.
Who excels.
Yeah.
Different versions of nerds. They're just
Absolutely.
the LARPers of iron.
I love that. That's so true. I love that. I just find too, like, I've found that there's such like a crossover in all those sports too, that there's like just like I'm really seeing a lot of like mutual respect across all the different disciplines. Like each sport, like you have different skills and like different intentions, but there's like a lot of sharing, a lot of similarity. And I think like that grind is present. And the like that aspect of like trying to better yourself or challenge yourself is there. And so I really like just the collective community of like of all these different sports that kind of come together under that umbrella. Yeah.
Well, and that's kind of why that's why I really like the Arnold, because it's like literally so many sports. I forget how many sports they always advertise, but it's like everybody's doing essentially like the same goals in different competitions, right? So they're all like the best at what they're doing. They're all trying to better themselves for some ridiculous reason, to lift some heavy weight that they'll never lift in real life.
Yeah. That's like the common denominator.
And then there's the pole dancers.
Oh gosh.
Yeah, exactly. Man, you know what? I saw someone do that human flag thing the other day, and he was so jacked. It was, like, whoa. Like, you know, when you're kind of hanging sideways.
Yeah. I've tried to do some of those.
Yeah.
Those pole dancers are really strong. Like, it doesn't look like it would be, but, like, to do the moves that they do, it's nuts.
Yeah. And to do it without looking like you're struggling. Like, to be so graceful as well. Like, I would be like hanging on to the pole, you know? Like that's not how it looks, you know? And when these artists or athletes, like, do that, like, it's just, like, I got respect for that. It's amazing. Yeah, it's always very humbling too to like try a different discipline. Like, say if you're really strong at something and then you try something else, you're like, oh, like it really kind of reminds you of how much like work it takes to get good at some of that stuff.
Yeah,
right. Absolutely.
It also reminds me too. Like I was watching. So there's a new documentary. It's a Kai Green documentary, and it literally just came out. But he started as he used to be a stripper, right? So like all
he was
this,
a stripper.
He was a stripper. Kind of sad because he was kind of like forced into it, but basically all of his posing routines like he took from his dancing and stuff like that. So that's why he was just amazing at it. Like his posing routines were not like anyone else's. They were very entertaining, and he was just a different kind of guy in this sport. And I feel like, you know, like, it's why we don't even give like dancers enough credit. It doesn't, like, they're strong as hell. So it's like, that's where he got a lot of his strength and just creativity from. So yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what all I can think of is like, I make these ridiculous faces just doing like calf raises, and I can't even control my face. And I'm like, something where you're holding your whole body like upside down or at an angle. Like, I can't even imagine. It's nuts. It's nuts. But I don't know. If you could do any sport, what would you do?
If I was to pick any sport, besides strongman, gosh, that's so tricky. I feel like in university, I tried to make a go of basketball. Like, I tried really hard. That was actually, basketball was like what led to me getting into track. So I want to say that, and that's like hockey is another one that I did a lot when I was younger, and I never really saw it through. And I often think like, oh, what if, if I kept it up, what my experience would be like. So yeah, I'm really drawn to those, but I gotta say, as of late, I've been trending more towards like individual sports. The track and field, and now the strongman. So, and there's something about that experience too that I find really appealing. I think it would be so cool to be like a talented gymnast. And also,
talk about strong.
right? Yeah, unbelievable. I know. I asked my mom to put me in gymnastics when I was little, and she put me in rhythmic gymnastics. That's not what I meant. Like, it was like the balls and the rhythms. Yeah, I remember like we had a Spice Girls routine at the end of the year, and I cried so much. Like, it's just like I hate this. I only did 1 year of rhythmic gymnastics, but I think like after especially watching the Winter Olympics, some of that like snowboarding and skiing stuff is so cool. Like, I do ski as a hobbyist, but if I could like shred and do some like wicked jumps, I think that'd be what I'd want to be doing.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I like to ski. I'm like good enough to like not fall down, but I definitely don't have like those skills. So I think that would be really cool to do. Yeah.
Nice.
What about you?
Awesome.
If you didn't like bodybuild, what would it be?
I don't know. I think I would want to do. I think I would like to do rugby. I think it looks so fun.
Yeah.
But I'm not. I can't run really.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it looks like a lot of fun, and I think it'd be really cool to hit someone and actually be like able to take them down. Because like my girlfriend always makes fun of me. 'Cause she's like, cause she's the rugby player, and she's like, well, you have show muscles, and I have muscles that hit people. And I'm like, I mean, that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah. True.
How about you, Cody?
I mean, I guess I'm kind of like on the same line with you, or Dane, because like basketball was my favorite sport growing up.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, like I'm short, and it
Yeah.
just didn't really play out. And I played soccer and stuff, and although I was more built for soccer, I'm shorter, I was decent at it. I just didn't have the same love for it. So I didn't like continue to play it out of high school. But basketball, was always my first true love of sport. And then, there was, as you like the more individual, I started going that way, and I did skateboarding for a long time. And I feel like I wish I could have continued with skateboarding, because it's just one of those sports that, I don't know, it is very inclusive as well, and it's super fun. Obviously, it's terrifying, and I'm way too old now, but I really just...
Tony Hawk still ski.
Yeah.
Tony Hawk still skateboards.
It's true.
I still watch him on TikTok.
And he breaks things occasionally now, like his hips. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm like, I just don't want to break anything for bodybuilding at this point.
Yeah.
Because I break it without skateboarding.
Yeah. Do it's funny you mentioned inclusive sport. I had an experience recently in what I would consider actually to be like an OG like inclusive sport, which is wheelchair basketball. They actually play mixed genders and also mixed abilities. So in sport with athletes who have disabilities, they're ranked and based on like your function and your impairment, so that they can like level out the playing field. So I know this from coaching an athlete too. He was a sit skier in cross country skiing, and so depending on what your impairment is, you're categorized. So anyway, on the wheelchair basketball team, they rank you as 1 through 5, and you can like mix abilities so that it adds up to 15 on the court out of your 5 players. So that means that you can have like various, yeah. So you can have folks without disabilities, yeah, who also choose to play wheelchair basketball. In Canada, you can play up to the national level without a disability, and it's just like we went for a scrimmage one time recently. I had so much fun. Because the height thing, Cody, it's so funny. The height thing like doesn't matter. It's like unless it's like your torso length, but it's so funny. There's this girl that I used to have to guard in high school all the time, and she was a lot taller than me, and she also played a scrimmage, and I swatted her so bad, and that's what she was like. This is only because we're sitting down. It was like so satisfying. But it was so fun because they play at mixed genders, they play at mixed abilities, and I was like, man, I feel like these guys have been doing this like before inclusion was even like on the radar, you know? And so it's just like, yeah, it was like a hidden gem of like a really fun inclusive sport that I'm actually on their little Facebook page now. I might try to play a few pickup games because it was just cool.
Awesome. I like
yeah,
that.
it was really
That's
fun.
really cool.
Yeah.
Does
Taking the height out, that's awesome.
Yeah, does being short count as a disability to an extent?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, there's definitely a cutoff for that too. But yeah, it was it's fun. It's always good to have spaces where you feel like you can belong in the sport because like I think for all of us, and I'll speak for myself, but being in the fitness community, you know that there are barriers that prevent people from moving their body, however it is. And so when you come across those spaces or those organizations that are really welcoming, it can just really make a difference in someone's life. So I think it's always so cool that those options exist. Yeah,
for sure, and because you learn so much more from sport and athletic endeavor than just the actual movement of your body, right?
100%. Like teamwork, problem solving, like getting and giving feedback, coaching, like. There's just like so much leadership.
Goal setting.
Yeah, goal setting, exactly.
Determination.
Yeah, like
responsibility.
Exactly.
Respect,
like getting uncomfortable with, getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, like pushing your limits, like framing. Yeah, it's just there's so much to be gained from there. And again, like I think I think the pandemic has been so eye-opening. Like folks like doing whatever they could to still connect through fitness, like on Zoom or with whatever means they had available to them. Like there's just it really brings people together. So I think it's so powerful to have opportunities to bring more people into those spaces so that they can like have that connection and gain all those there's like physical benefits and there's social and there's emotional. There's like so much to be gained from having some sort of movement practice.
Yeah, for sure. I think there's so much that that's why I think, like when I ask people that I'm coaching, a lot of times I'll ask, have you ever been coached before? Not just meaning, coach for fitness, but just coached in general in the past, because it's not like I'm going to be like, okay, you've never been coached, then you suck. It's just like a way for me to know how to talk to them or approach them. Because if they've never played sports or never been coached, it's kind of, you are their first, contact with something that is, that a lot of people might be used to or have a different mindset with things, because it's just like you mentioned with sports, it teaches you so many things, problem solving and how to be coachable and how to push yourself, and it's just this huge mindset thing that if you hadn't played sports in the past, that might not be there just naturally.
And taking and giving feedback and like in a respectful and like, because most people, like, especially if they've never been in a sport or even, like, wouldn't even know how to take it, like, without, like, just hearing I'm wrong, and then that's all you're seeing, right? And you're not even seeing why or how to move past it. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's so true. I had a track coach. I'll never forget, like, when I first started working with her, she had like cued me on one of my throwing movements, and it worked. Like it connected really well for me, and I got a good result from the cueing. And I remember she said like, okay, great. Like now I know how to cue you. And the next thing I need to learn is like how to motivate you. And I thought that was like such a astute thing for a coach to say, because everyone responds to different types of motivation. And I thought it was so cool that like she cared to investigate that and to tailor that to my unique experience, and that's something I really carry forward with me as a coach as well. It's like kind of like you said, Cody, like just like getting to know people so that you can know like what they need from you as a coach, and that delivery of feedback, like if you only have like a few seconds, or like a few words to get the right thing, or you don't want to overwhelm them, or however it is that you're communicating stuff to people, like how to maximize your impact with whoever you're working with is definitely a skill that takes time to develop. And I think it's a huge opportunity by being involved in coaching to learn that as well. And I also see that like with carryover into then like professional settings and stuff too. Like it's just a really powerful skill to have.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For sure.
Absolutely. All right. I think I have one more question for you, then we'll let you go back into your day, because we want to be respectful of your time. But so when it gets hard, so when training gets hard or anything along those lines, what is your go-to way to fix your head? So like or mindset, I suppose. So like, do you have a mantra? Do you what's your way of breaking through that plateau barrier almost, like when shit hits the fan, I suppose?
That's such a good question. I find I really had to go through this just recently because I was getting up to my competition, and as I like get excited and get closer to it, you're also running out of time to get better and better. It's like you're on the clock, and so then all the things that you're maybe not where you want to be, they start to really show up, and I find like really dominate my headspace. And so I think for me, when I am in that place where I'm struggling and it's getting hard, like it's like giving myself the grace to be a learner and to have that self-compassion, because I think oftentimes when I am coming up against a challenge, I have high hopes for myself, and I have that bar set really high, and I have those expectations, and then I get disappointed, if I'm not where I want to be at. And so taking that time to step back and think like, okay, where was I, a month ago, or, I only just started learning this, or I've only just started this, X number of months ago. So just like kind of reframing that about where I am and where I've come from, I think is usually my thing, because I find that those thoughts can just really start to spiral and really dominate it. And your mental energy in that space can really make or break it. It can mean the difference between completing a lift. It can mean the difference between walking out in the middle of a workout as well, and just saying like, I'm done training. Like that's enough for today. And being okay with being a learner, I think is really, really important to me. I used to find that there was a time that I didn't like to show myself in progress. I think early in my transition, I tried to show myself looking as masculine as I possibly could, because it was affirming for me. It made me feel safe, but there was something about that where it's like you're creating this image of yourself to meet a certain expectation. And so just being okay with being in progress has been really relieving for me.
I really like that. That's a really good way to put it.
Yeah. So it's just kind of like, letting yourself be in that place. And, something that keeps me, if I was the best at everything, I don't think I would want to do it. It wouldn't be interesting, it's like, so it's kind of okay to not be there yet. There's so many opportunities, and that's what kind of keeps me coming back every time, is like having a plan and having goals in place and knowing that I'm working towards something. It sounds cheesy, but it's kind of like that trust the process thing, but it's actually like enjoying the process and reflecting on like where you are in the process when you feel like you're maybe becoming stagnant. So yeah,
I love that. That's really good. Just like James Clear, Cody's favorite.
Yes,
being in progress.
Exactly. You gotta fall in love with the journey.
In the journey. Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly. So we end all of our podcasts with what we call power talk. So it's like usually it's quote to send our audience out in the day. So Cody has ours for today. So are you ready for that, Cody?
I am ready. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, cool. So this quote that I picked out, which is, I don't know, I'll just say it. Okay. We have to be honest about what we want and take risks rather than lie to ourselves and make excuses to stay in our comfort zone. And obviously I picked this because I feel like it's something that we very commonly do, because obviously we like to stay in our comfort zones. It's nice and cozy. We don't have to really get uncomfortable, but that's not how you grow. And it's really easy to lie to ourselves. Denial is huge a lot of the time. So unfortunately, you know, you have to be honest with yourself with what you really want if you want to like have the motivation to move forward. If you just keep lying to yourself, nothing really gets done. So yeah, that's why I chose that. It's like awareness is key.
Awareness is key. I agree.
Yes.
Well, that is a good
powerful
one. Thank you so much for joining us this week, Dane. I really appreciate it. I think our audience is really gonna like it. I know I've enjoyed our conversation. But that's all we got for today. So
yeah, thanks so much for having me.
I hope you have a great rest of your week and I guess we're at the end of the week.
Thank you.
Beginning.
Have a great next week.
Have a great Sunday Scaries.
All right.
Yeah.
We'll talk to y'all later.
Bye.
All right, thank you.
All right. Bye.